If you've ever been to a Milsim event and not cleaned up after more than 3 days of being home, hit that subscribe button. This is Airsoft NCT, and let's get into this AAR.
Move out, let's go! Keep pushing! Keep pushing!
So, I just came back from Broken Arrow event Operation Junction City 2 this past August. I had a fantastic experience again, and I wanted to walk you through everything that I experienced getting to the event on Wednesday all the way through Sunday. Similar to last year's AAR, this is going to be kind of off the cuff. I will be telling it chronologically with as many details and photos that I can provide. I'm really excited. I'm glad I waited a couple days. I have over 50 videos and photos to share with you, and there are plenty more coming out from this event. So please stay tuned. Check out my Instagram. I have a lot that I post there, and we'll get into this AAR. Now, just like last year, I was part of 2-1, part of the Unga Bunga squad. We had all of our same favorite returning characters, as well as one new one who will be hopefully joining us again next year. We had our squad leader, Sean Wachter, our assistant squad leader, Ian Scudder, machine gunner, Mike Farucci, aka The Mooch. We had our assistant machine gunner, Mike Labasi, Jane and Amabile, who's a returning character. We also had our very own FNG, Alan Martinez, and myself, the designated point man, Airsoft NCT. I'm sure if you've been following my Instagram for any amount of time, I brought a lot of things to this event. A lot of the preparation happened right after last year, although throughout the year I collected a lot more things that allowed me to not only be more efficient, but more comfortable at this event. So let me share with you a brief overview of the things that I brought with me. For the gear that I brought 4 sets of uniforms. I actually ended up with having 1 left over, which I think ended perfectly. I was able to dry my uniforms a lot throughout the week, so having that many spare uniforms that I could change into while drying another set was a great way to make sure I stayed dry and hygienic throughout the week. I brought 2 pairs of Vibrant Soul jungle boots. I didn't need to use the extra one, however, I'm glad I did bring it. I brought 11 pairs of socks, and I ended with 4 extra. Again, I was able to dry out some of the higher quality ones and reuse them if we only did like a minor patrol or something, but I'm glad I brought that many pairs of socks. I brought a few towels, cravats, and I brought a field cap. Great thing, I wore that field cap anytime I wasn't wearing my helmet pretty much. And then my complete impression, which included my lightweight rucksack, my helmet, my M56 harness set, and my claymore bags, etc. The weapons that I brought included a GMP M16A1. You guys saw a review on this channel not too long ago, but that was a fantastic gun, shot flawlessly, worked flawlessly, never had an issue, and those are actually available on Evike right now. So if you're looking for a new M16A1, something that's gonna feel really, really solid and perform pretty decently, highly recommend that one, so go check it out. I'll probably throw the link down below. A built custom spare lower, just in case that one went down, and I brought 3 EG67s and 2 tag and grenades, 1 smoke, 1 non. Some of the furniture and base items that I brought were a Mermite can filled out with Cokes, orange sodas, as well as a couple extra water bottles. I brought a 67 dated field table that I kept all of my bunk litter on, and I brought a 69 dated field desk chair, just the little chair part, not the whole field desk. I brought a cot with a bug net, and then I brought a vintage lawn chair, same as the field desk chair. That was a great addition to use whenever we were in the Viper or whenever we were hanging out as a squad in our squad bay. And last but certainly not least are the sustainment items. I brought quite a few sustainment items as well, including 10 cans of food, 3 hidden MREs. My squad leader did share an extra MRE with me, which I was super grateful for. I went through all my MREs, but I did not go through nearly all my cans of food. I brought 9 gallons of water, and for that 5 days, that was sufficient. I ended with just about a gallon left. Foot powder, which truthfully, not something I've ever used before. I know that's something that's very commonly talked about and preached about in the Bay community. However, I had never used it and never really felt the need to use it, but I'm glad I took advantage of that this year. I put it in my 60s tin, and that was a godsend. I think from now on, I'm going to be a firm believer in foot powder. I'm not going to be stubborn, so I'm really glad I brought that foot powder. Highly recommend it. I also brought quite a bit of utility items as well as bunk litter. You'll see a photo of my bunk litter here. And you can see I have quite a bit. I have a baseball glove, I have pocket knives, I have a tool set hidden in one of my ammo cans, I've got can openers, multiple types, I've got an angle head. There's just a whole bunch of different stuff that I brought to not only authenticate my setup, but be really useful for me throughout the weekend. Editor Airsoft NCT here. If you've made it the full 5 minutes so far, props to you, I appreciate you. Now, let's get into the actual AAR. I woke up at 6 a.m. here in Connecticut, and I left the house at 7:45. A Pavin friend of mine came and joined me for the ride. We arrived at 4 p.m. after making a few stops. We stopped at a diner to get lunch. We stopped at a surplus store where we were at for about an hour. We got Walmart stuff, just, you know, a bunch of things to keep us going for the ride. And again, we arrived at approximately 4 p.m. Now, when we got there, stuff was already happening. Stuff was being put up. There was a lot of work. We actually only had a couple other tents to put up. So as soon as we got it, pulled all of our stuff out of the car, parked the car, I got to work. We started putting up that second tent. I was hammering in those stakes for the ground. Just a lot of different things to make sure the base was gonna be complete within the next hour or so, and that's exactly what we accomplished. Once we got there and all of that was set up, we brought all of my equipment to my bunk setup, and I got it kind of looking nice and pretty. As soon as the tents were up and my stuff was in, our squad leader arrived. Sean Wachter, fantastic guy. You know, he was squad leader of the year last year. But we had a great time, just kind of hanging out, kind of catching up. I believe the only two people that weren't there for our squad were Mike Labasi and Jaden, but they came on the following day on Thursday. Dinner was then called at approximately 6:15, and then I purchased a meal pass for the following day. So I was able to eat with my friends that night, but I also had meals get ready and covered for the next day as well. And probably one of the highlights of that day was casino night. The Bamboo Viper, which you'll see some pictures of here, was a fantastic addition to base. I don't think I utilized it nearly enough last year, but this year, the Bamboo Viper was the hangout spot. For the whole company, that was where you wanted to be at night. So we had a casino night, which was a lot of fun. I cracked open the cards, we started doing blackjack, started doing high-lows, we had played a version of Rummy that I'd never played before. And then Liam came by and opened up the roulette table and blackjack table. So he was the dealer for a lot of it, and we actually played some for some Bay merch, which was really cool. Kind of a low-key thing, but we played for t-shirts, we played for notepad sets, things like that. It was a lot of fun to be able to not only like hang out with the staff and get kind of re-engaged in the Vietnam immersion, so to speak, but it was just a good time for everyone, really. Then on Thursday, we got up at about 6 a.m. We did a little bit more cleaning of the base, and then we did a baseball game. So the baseball game, we went down to a field really close to our base, and that was a ton of fun. We had a just a good kind of friendly game back and forth. Farucci started throwing some fastballs. We started hitting things out of the park. It was a lot of fun, and that ended up in a tie pretty much. So it was a really good time getting to kind of just do some R&R with everyone on base. Once that baseball game was all set, the Bay Band snuck off to go practice one last time before our USO show. Now, you may or may not have known this prior to the event, but the Bay Band was something spearheaded by Joe Sabia, and we ended up performing at the event a couple of sets of music, which was a fantastic experience, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But we practiced at Mike Diamante's house, Bear, who you may know him as, which is...
And if you're watching this, I just wanted to thank you again for letting us use your space to practice. Again, I appreciate it, and I promise I'm going to get your rank down by next year's event.
It was just a great time practicing and making sure everyone was, again, on the same page and ready to go for the USO show that night. Once we were finished practicing, we returned to base and were ready to get set up, but were hit with a wave of bad news, and that was that it was going to rain that night. So we had this beautiful truck set up, all ready to go, but we weren't able to use it, so unfortunately we had to set up in a tent away from the rain just to protect our equipment and everything. But I think it still got ready and got set up as best as it could given that unfortunate circumstance. Once we were ready to go, we began the show. So it was a lot of fun. The first set that we did started out with kind of a joke song, California Dreamin' by the Mamas and Papas. Instead of actually singing it, all we said was all the leaves are brown, over and over and over. And then we were stopped by Fred Wachter, who told us we sounded like garbage and that we need to do it the right way. So after that, we fixed it up, got that song rolling, and continued on with a series of songs. Two of my favorites from that set are Sunshine of Your Love by Cream and We've Gotta Get Out of This Place. Both of them were probably some of the best songs we did that night, but again, those are just some of my favorites, and you'll see some footage here.
I'm losing my love. The light shining through on you. Yes, I'm with you, my love. It's the morning and just the week through. I'll stay with you, darling, now. I'll stay with you till my teeth are dried out. He's been working and saving his life away. Oh yes, I know. I've been working today.
And we continued on to the talent show portion of the evening. Now, the talent show started out with only a few signups, but that night we got a bunch more signups, and it was awesome. I think it went off perfectly. We had different acts from comedy to singing. Alessio Barbosa, huge shout out to him. He ended up doing some bagpipe work. Fantastic guy, like that was really incredible, something that I don't think any of us really expected. And then I performed a rendition of The Wild Rover, and I ended up throwing a custom verse at the end that poked fun at some of the officials. Liam, I'm sorry, I had to throw you under the bus there. And then Farucci, I'm sorry, you keep stealing my cokes, man.
Nay, never. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, nay, never, no more. Will I play the wild rover? No, never.
And then the Bay Band got ready for our second and last set.
You made it. You gotta give me some loving. Give me some loving. Give me some loving every day.
So after our final performance, our final song, which was Twist and Shout by the Beatles, we were all awarded our very own ribbons, just something cool to commemorate the band by, and hopefully we will continue performing at a Bay event near you. We finished off the night, packed up our stuff, and hung out with our squads and our squad bays, and I think this is where I realized how little sleep I was going to get, because we had a fantastic time in our tent. 2-1, we kind of got told to be quiet quite a few times, basically every night, because we were just hooting and laughing and having a grand old time. It was so good to have the whole squad back together. I'm hoping we can keep our squad together for as long as possible. Farucci is an absolute blast to talk to and to get wound up. He's a great guy, one of the most loyal friends you'll ever have. He's hilarious. So it was just a great time with the squad. So I think that really speaks to the camaraderie that you can develop at these events. But let's continue on with Friday. Friday morning, we woke up bright and early, actually 5 a.m., getting ready for a next day of operation. So we started out as last year with some training. It was very, very warm that day, but the training was important for the FNGs and for us to kind of get ourselves back in the mindset of patrols. We started up patrolling down the road. We designated our fire teams. We practiced directions, reaction to contact, all led by Bear as well, who did a fantastic job last year and kept that momentum going for this year. Then came our first mission. So we loaded up in the back of the Deuces and did our massive Operation Junction City jump into the AO and secured a perimeter, getting ready for the other groups to jump into that same area with us. So 2-1 naturally, tip of the spear. We led our way out and pushed into the forest looking for a misdropped package. So there was a parachute package that was misdropped into a different location in the AO that we had to go retrieve and secure from every PAB and force that may or may not have been in the area. 2-1 very quickly secured it. Shout out to Mike Labasi and Alan Martinez for locating that package and then helping to get it secured. After that, I led the company into a patrol basically all the way around the AO. It was a very long patrol. Luckily, we didn't have rucks and strangely enough, didn't hit a single bit of contact, but that's okay. To be honest, no one had really been to this AO before, and it was terrifying not knowing if you were going to get hit, when you were going to get hit, where you were going to get hit. So every single moment you were vulnerable, and I truly imagine that that's how it felt jumping in 1967 for the 173rd Airborne. So that kind of realism was not really action-packed, but it was very, very, very intense, and I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of the event. Then we were able to return to base after that. We patrolled all the way back again, still no contact. We had a meal, and then we saw a Huey fly over while the 2nd platoon was having their own kind of meeting. And then we continued on with a couple more meetings in the Viper. Our first one was the Booby Trap and Explosive Instructional Course, which I think was super valuable and super helpful. I got to see what kind of booby traps I may encounter out there, especially being point man, I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of terrifying to realize that, oh crap, I might get blown up quite a few times this weekend. So we talked about the toe poppers, we talked about the mouse trap, booby traps. We talked about like the grenade ones, different kinds of things that we might encounter and how to disarm them. After that, we received some letters. I received 3 letters this year, and I lost my lightweight rucksack, which is so unfortunate. So some of my pay got docked until I could finish giving that back. We had a package slip, as well as a letter from Father Seamus O'Malley confirming my religious questions. Now that was just a really cool kind of like little immersion piece. And then finally, from the captain himself, we had a history lesson, kind of just a talk about where the 173rd had come from, where they were, and what they were doing right before Operation Junction City. It was really cool, and big props to Liam just for setting up that lesson for us and giving us a very accurate showcase. It was just something that I greatly appreciated. After that, we turned in for the night and got ready for the biggest day of the event, Saturday's operations. Also, here's a little side note. If you haven't bought this after the event, then you got really lucky because I've got poison ivy all over. But anyway, Saturday started with another 5 a.m. morning, and that day was extremely hot. We had a ton of very hot weather. We actually had some people not feeling well because of the heat, even though hydration was not only preached but really enforced there. So that really wasn't an area of concern for me because I know that even if I forgot to drink, I had a million people reminding me to, which not a bad thing at all. I think that was really important, especially for the new people who didn't really know their heat tolerance. We engaged in our first patrol of the morning, almost backwards through the AO. 2-1 was again tip of the spear for that one, so I pushed us out, and it took a while before anything even happened. Once we had the whole platoon kind of in a situated area, first platoon took a sweep around to our right and kept moving that way, while I led second platoon forward, basically straight forward from where we were going. And about 5 minutes after a clearing, Ian Scudder and myself, we were 1 and 2, we moved forward a bit, and then bam, immediately I got schwacked. I got lit up from head to toe, and I fell, started screaming, it burns, which is a lot of fun. Ian Scudder kind of used me as a fortress, just totally respectable. He took out a Pavin guy, got grenaded, they ended up running off. First platoon got into a bit of contact, and then we got medics real quick, so we all had our medic band on, and we didn't want to waste men if we didn't have to, so we got moved to the rear of our squad. Not the rear of the platoon, but we had a couple other people take point from then on. As they moved up, they continued forward, they heard some voices, they saw some things, so we got down real quick, and then contact front, and we all quickly got online, started lighting them up, and that was really awesome reaction to kind of that visual contact. However, we did find out that someone in soaked clothes looks really close to someone wearing black PJs. So that was a blue on blue scenario, which did happen. Luckily, there weren't really too many casualties, if any, from that. But that was something that didn't really get us in good favor with command. But that's okay, we moved on, we bounced back from that really quickly. Afterwards, we continued onwards and got lunch quickly back at the base, and then returned to the field for another patrol. Now, the mission objective for this patrol was to find another drop, secure it, make sure it was not booby-trapped, and then wipe out the remaining Pavin forces from the AO. So we got to that location. We very quickly found the drop. Once we got to kind of a corner of the road, we were kind of like an expeditionary force pushing out to secure an outermost ring of defense for that, as well as just squeeze out any Pavin that were kind of lurking in the shadows waiting for us to get to the drop. But we explored that, and what was really cool about that experience is while we were far out, we weren't directly too far away from our platoon, but we also noticed a whole squad of GI walk right by us. I think 2-1, I would be fairly confident in our combat capabilities, but the fact that we were able to conceal ourselves really well and not have first platoon notice us at all was kind of cool. We did communicate to them that we were there, and we met up with them and everything, but to see the whole big group of guys walk by us was kind of cool. And then as soon as we got that returned to the appropriate truck and sent back to base, we continued our push all the way out through the jungle and to find Pavin forces. First platoon remained in this area while second platoon traveled all the way down the AO to get a very secure position and set up for an L-shaped ambush. So first platoon tripped some booby traps up top, got into some contact, started pushing Pavin forces all the way down to us, and we reacted like that. We whacked some dudes, we saw a couple run off, we were kind of like, all right, let's make sure they don't hit our flanks. We secured our flank, and then we saw them come back, so we pushed right into them. We took a prisoner. It was really cool, a lot of really intense battle. But when we got back, we were told we were supposed to remain in that area, but that's all right. Again, didn't get us too in favor with command, but we did our job and schwacked some PAVN forces before we returned back to our platoon. After that, we continued our patrol. 2-1 led the patrol again, so we took the brunt of any kind of potential contact that we had. Luckily, we didn't have any contact, but we moved all the way about a mile through the jungle to the road. We were actually getting picked up by the trucks, so that was a really cool experience. We patrolled up the hill, cleared our guns, iPro off, and we took the trucks all throughout the town. We did quite a long drive, but it was super cool to kind of just be as an element in the trucks, just going through town. On that ride, it was really cool. We ended up driving through the Gettysburg battlefield, and that was really cool. I had never been down to Gettysburg. Once we got back to base, we had some dinner, and then we took volunteers for the RON, or Remain Overnight. Now, I was fully expecting to do 2 RONs this event. Not going to try to make excuses for it, but 2-1 did a vote, and we decided to keep our squad together and not go on the RON. And in hindsight, I think that was a kind of smart decision, given that not too much happened on the RON, and given the location. It was only about, I don't know, maybe 300 meters from base, if that, and it was just in an open field area, and they got a bit of contact, but luckily we were there for it. So while we didn't remain overnight on location, our squad, at least a few elements from our squad, stayed behind and helped them get set up and everything, while some of our guys patrolled back. A smaller number of us stayed there and were a reactionary force, kind of like a QRF, so any attacks or probes that they received, we were ready to help defend them. We had Farucci kind of set up in a corner, and at one point in the night, I heard this from a PAVN member himself, just to give it some kind of different perspective, but they saw a red light right on a perimeter that they weren't expecting a red light to be. So he asked them, like, hey, are you all right? Like, are you lost, or is everything okay? And didn't hear anything from the GI, and then he saw the GI raise his gun up, so the PAVN dude was like, all right, here goes. He lifted his gun, started shooting. Farucci opened up and just sprayed the entire field. It was crazy to hear him do what he wants to do most in life. It was just such a Farucci experience. And we saw a few PAVN guys go down, and that was the end of that engagement. Now, this little clip is from after the event. We found out that Farucci did not take down 3 or 4 PAVN guys. He actually took down the entire PAVN force, which was, whether that was supposed to happen or not is whatever. It's BB Wars, Milsim as heck, but it was a lot of fun. It was just cool to see him so happy to do what he does best.
Because they were just walking across the open.
So Farucci, after action report, what just happened?
I just murdered a whole cell.
But after that, they didn't get any contact for the rest of the night. We ended up patrolling back, slept on base, had one more fun night with the guys, and got ready for the final battle on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, we woke up at 5 a.m. one more time, ready for the last big battle. We patrolled again. Once we got everything set up, we patrolled out with Labasi as point man to go pick up the RON guys, set up a defensive perimeter, had them get all packed up, patrolled back to base, ate a quick breakfast, and got back on the road for one last battle. We gave point position to Mike Labasi, who was assistant gunner for most of the event, but I think he absolutely crushed it as point man, and that's when stuff went crazy. About 15 minutes into our patrol, Labasi just gets schwacked, just like I did a couple patrols prior. He goes down. The second person, Ian Scudder, goes down. Sean goes down. I go down. Farucci goes down. Basically, our entire squad, which led the company out, got demolished. One PAVN guy threw a grenade, and it landed perfectly underneath Martinez's chest. So, I mean, you can't really fault him for it, but he had to get that out of there. But as soon as he tried to like push it out and move over, it exploded and it messed up his hand pretty bad. He's okay though. He ended up sitting out the rest of that patrol. He went back to base, got that checked out by medical professionals, and he's totally okay now. He's good to go. It just kind of, I mean, that's a painful experience, especially a tag and blowing up right next to your hand. But better that than his neck or chest. But anyway, so after that, we continued on in that engagement. We got quickly mediced up. I rushed over. Jaden Amabile was laying there, and he was hit. And I'm like, "Where's your bandage, dude?" And he pointed to his thing, but he was laying on it. So I picked him up, I rolled him over, I took his thing out, bandaged him up. I went over, bandaged John Van Ness, got him back up. His platoon was ready to go. My platoon was ready to go, and we steamrolled through that jungle. I ended up schwacking a guy with an RPD. We moved through. We took different cells, kind of getting hit, reviving, and moving. It was really cool because they ended up surrounding us at one point. They moved all around us and just kept hitting us from different sides. And it was just pure chaos. It was pure BB Wars, Airsoft, Milsim. It was really cool just to kind of see, again, how they moved. As well as how we moved, because they're very quiet. They know what's going on at all points, and they know how to react and where to move for certain things. Whereas GIs, you'll see in this video, we're all screaming at each other. Get up here, move this way. We're talking like sailors. So it was just kind of just a different kind of dichotomy. It was interesting. But during that engagement, we set different guys on point. We tossed a couple grenades. Here's me sending one into orbit right now. And just kind of moving through the jungle as platoon and squad size elements, taking whatever land we could, taking whatever Pavin guys we could. And it's funny, we took a guy prisoner. I actually know him from MSW, so Falkovich, if you're watching this, shout out to you. It was cool that we were able to take you prisoner. I think that engagement really summarized the Airsoft part of the event. While we didn't always have a lot of contact, and some of our patrols went with maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds of contact, there was a lot of intensity, a lot of really, really good fighting, and a lot of really good engagement, whether or not BBs were actually shot. After that, we called Endex and moved back to base for a couple of our closure meetings. So we had our award ceremony at the end, a lot of really well-deserved awards. So if you did get one, huge shout out to you guys. You 100% deserved it. I do want to shout out a couple other people too. So I think Alessio Barbosa, who I'm sure you guys know, he's always just such a positive individual to be around. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always hyping you up. So big shout out to him. If you're watching this, man, you're a great guy. Glad to have met you again for the second time. I do also want to shout out Buck Leatherman. So Buck, man, if you're watching this, I definitely think you should also get a Come Correct award. The C-Rats and the things that you put effort into making sure your kit is as squared away as possible. It's just inspiring. Like, I did a couple small things this year with some Kool-Aid packets and Chiclets gum packages and everything, and trying to make like pseudo-lerp rations and cans of food and everything, but you went all out, man. So just huge props to you. I just think you definitely deserve that Come Correct award, and hopefully you'll get it next year. And I did want to say that it was a huge honor to get an award this year. I ended up getting MVP of 2nd Platoon, and it's just an honor. It was really cool to get that, and the reason they gave was part of me just jumping right in as soon as I got there and always willing to be a helping hand. And I think that that's just something that a lot of the Bay community does anyway. A lot of the community and the events is really community. A lot of people put in that work as soon as they get there. A lot of people really want to contribute and make this greater than just an event that they experience themselves. And I think that really kind of just carries through and really shows in the event producers and the media they put out and just what they do overall. So huge shout out to just the whole Bay community. It's a group of MVPs, and I'm really proud to be a part of you guys. So I wanted to give a couple opinions and just kind of like an overview of things. So I wanted to start with the field, what I thought about the field. Again, it took, on GPS, without any traffic or anything, it was 5 hours and 45 minutes to get there. Each ride took about 7 to 7.5 hours because of the multitude of stops that we took, that kind of thing. And the AO, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it was necessarily the best. I think the Tolcom AO had a lot more diverse terrain. And I think this one, while it did have very challenging terrain, I think it got to be a lot. A lot of people dealt with chigger bites, a lot of people dealt with cockroaches, spiders, poison ivy. I am covered in it, so if you saw me scratching at any point in this video, I totally support you in unsubscribing because I'm not doing healthy habits there. It's it was a rough area to be in. The Ron site wasn't, I guess, as good as it was last year, but I think for the different area and something new to experience, it was pretty solid. Like, I enjoyed going to a new area. I especially enjoyed it being in the Gettysburg area for a couple of reasons. Number one, just the history. I'm a huge history buff, as I'm sure you could probably tell. It was just really cool being in some place that had so much meaning to us as a country. So that was just a really cool place to be, as well as just the area, the downtown. We ate at a really good pub, but I'll get to that in a second. It was just a cool place to be. So I appreciated it, even though the drive was really far. And even though we most likely won't be there again next year, it's definitely some place that I want to go back and visit with a kind of a new perspective and respect. Now, on top of a unique AO, I did want to compliment all of the base staff and just for all the effort that you guys put into it. I tried to thank you as much as I could while we were there at the event, but again, huge thank you goes out to the support staff run by Joe Sully. The food that you guys provided was fantastic, and then Joe Sabia for the band event, kind of getting that all running and definitely as perfected as we could get it. I truly appreciate all the effort that you put into that, especially with running the PX as well. I know I made use of it. I know I sold some things from it. Liam, thank you for putting on such an incredible event. I'm definitely hoping to get more involved in the future because just I see the effort that you guys put into it, and I know that that's something that you all love, and this is something that I love as well. So I truly appreciate what you guys have put forth in this event and what you continue to work on throughout the years. Strassi, huge shout out to you for the Bamboo Viper. Again, that was the hangout place, but that was really kind of like a brainchild of yours. So I truly appreciate the effort that you put into that. It was a really cool place, and I'm looking forward to hanging out more in that next year. And again, if I didn't thank you personally there at the event, I just want to thank you all again. This event was a fantastic experience again, and I'm so looking forward to next year. I know that each year we improve in some ways, and I know that next year is going to be even better wherever that location ends up being. So now I wanted to wrap up really quickly with what happened at the end of the event. Right after that Endex meeting, here's what went down. We cleaned up. It was a huge overhaul cleanup. The tents mostly came down relatively quickly, and at that point it was a lot of people loading up a lot of their cars, so it did take a couple hours for things to come down. Most people had left by then. I stayed until I think about 12:45. I know guys were there a little bit later than that, so I apologize for not staying that full time. But again, I appreciated how many people stayed. Definitely made all the tent takedowns and all the movement of gear and equipment a lot faster, especially with the supply and support crew. You guys were fantastic at really getting on top of stuff and just taking it down. So I think that was a good aspect of the event and a good way to kind of end off with the community aspect of things. Now, Lavazzi and I went to town and we checked out a couple surplus stores, and then we went to lunch. So we went to an Irish pub with some of the Pavin guys, Chris Johnson, a couple of his higher ups, Mark Herman, my good friend Johnny Leflad, who I drove to the event and drove back with. And it was really cool seeing the event perspective from their side. Now, don't want to promise anything. Stay tuned for a potential Pavin kit in the near future. I think what they do is really, really cool. The community and camaraderie that they have almost rivals 2-1. So I'm hoping that we can get all of 2-1 to maybe try out that group hopefully soon. So on top of purchasing a bait tourniquet at the PX as well as selling some things, I picked up one of these. So this is a survival kit individual tropical. This is the tactical aircrew version. It is not the McAfee SOG Special Forces issued hot wet weather survival kit. Although this is extremely similar. The case is basically an identical size. A lot of the equipment inside is nearly identical, but this thing is complete. So it's really cool. I'm really glad I was able to pick this up. I got this at only about 75 bucks. So I was really happy that I got this complete, and you will see it show up in the future as a stand-in for the hot wet weather kit. So what do I need to bring next year that I didn't bring this year? Well, truthfully, not much. I can't really think of anything that stood out to me that was, oh crap, I needed that. Perhaps I could have brought more of the light drinks, so something like a Coca-Cola or something more, I don't know, not just straight water. I was very good on Pedialyte, very good on foot powder, but really, I don't think there was too much that I was missing. So please check out the videos that I have posted. If you are curious of things that you can bring, check them out, because that really kind of helped me think about what I need for a Bay event, and it really showed everything that I did use and did bring. So I wanted to end this video out with, again, a huge thank you to all of the Bay staff. I, again, appreciate everything that you guys have put into this event, and I cannot wait to be a more involved part of that in the future. So thank you guys. This is Airsoft NCT. I hope you enjoyed this AAR and all the pictures and videos and media that I threw out throughout it. Follow all the guys that run the events. There's a lot of good stuff that they put out, and hopefully we will see you at the next Broken Arrow event. This is Airsoft NCT. Have a good one.